is okay. So what it helped me understand more is that I can when I have like a bad feeling or a thought that is bothering me, I skip a step now from listening to all this where I just tell myself, like how cognitive behavioral therapy will say, like, okay, you had that thought. How does it make you feel? What do you do? And then, how, what action do you take? And what would be a new thought? I skip all of that and I just go, just change your thought, Judy. It's okay. Just, you can change that anytime you choose. Just change it. That's all. Just go into a different channel.
Yeah, exactly.
One is as good as another. So it really helps in that sense that, like, we really believe that our thoughts are so real and so powerful that they rob us of so much, So I just now have been saying to myself, you're thinking this, well, think this. And then I just go into a more positive thing. So I just like click on a different channel.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
Really what I do now. I mean,
what Sid?
No, that's
Sid
beautiful.
Used to say, take that tape out and put in a different
channel. One, right?
Yeah, exactly. But Judy, do you notice? There you go. And do you notice how your thinking just changes on its own when you make that decision? Yeah. It's like incredible. It's incredible.
Well, it's like, it's like
wow.
Everything is neutral, right?
Yes,
so
correct.
Out there is really neutral. And this is where the Course in Miracles is very helpful, especially the lessons at the beginning of, I see this table has no meaning. I see this. So you're really retraining your mind to say, this does not really have any meaning except the meaning you want to give it.
Yes.
So why not give it something positive? Or at the worst, say, I really just don't even know what this means. So who cares? You could do that.
Exactly.
Too,
Yeah. You're right, Judy. It's the meaning that we give to everything and anything. But here's the thing, that we have the power to think. It doesn't matter what we think.
Right.
It's that we have the power to think, because like what you just did, because you're able to do that because you have the power to think. That's incredible. Yeah.
Right. And that has to do with the consciousness. Like he was talking a lot. I mean, I've listened to Sid quite a few times, some of the stuff you sent. So it was mind and then consciousness and thought. And he was talking about that. And the mind is never changing. It's there, it's formless. And then the consciousness is the awareness that we have. Right. And I think that's what you're speaking to, Lynn, is that we have the awareness that we can change our thought, kind of.
Yeah, not on purpose, but we decide not to go there. And when we decide not to go there, our thinking changes on its own. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, we're designed perfectly. That's the beauty of us. Yeah. And that's what we're learning. Yeah. Go ahead, Laura. Sorry.
We have the innate power to decide which thoughts we want to give life to.
Yes, attention.
If we don't give life to a thought, it has no meaning. It doesn't, we're not bringing it into the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's we decide.
He was saying today, he was saying, if you want to have this thought and give life to it, go right ahead and do that. But why not give life to something more positive or more,
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Judy, I get that, because like a lot of times if I felt, when I wake up and I realize I'm giving way too much attention to something, and I'm like, okay, Lynn, why bother? And then I just forget about it and I'm feeling better.
Anyway.
Exactly. Because if you're not thinking it, you're not feeling it. So I just
remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
Right. I know, right?
It's true.
I know, I hear you. But that's what I do. And I find I'm like everybody, we're all human. It's easy to go down a,
Right.
little path that, why give attention to this? Forget it. That's the difference with people who don't understand how you're designed to work. You don't have to do anything
Right.
to let your thinking go. You don't have to change it, nothing. Just by noticing it and leaving it alone, we default to our system of well-being. We're always okay in that moment, Yeah, that's beautiful, Judy. That's beautiful. Wow.
So I got a lot out of it, like and sometimes it's easier for me to just listen and really absorb it in that way. So
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Listening is wonderful. If you could get in, it's so calming. It opens our mind up.
Yes.
Listening is so powerful. Listening without our own thoughts in the way.
Right. Yeah.
Just taking it in, not making anything of it.
Right.
But
and experiencing it.
Yes.
On a deep level.
And then you see it in life.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. It's deep listening. That's from a mind that's just open and free. And then that's when you gain your insights. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And the nice part here is when you see that insight, you get a shift and a rise in a level of consciousness. And once you have an insight, you can't unsee it. And there's nothing you need to do to remember it, or you just go about your day and you're already beginning to see how you work and how it's kind of incorporated magically. It's hard to put words around it, but that's the difference between temporary change, trying to do something outside of you to feel better, because that doesn't change your thinking. Right. So, but when you get an insight, it does, and it gives you because you experience truth, and truth clears the lenses of misperception. So you live life at a higher level of quality level of thinking and feeling. Could you go down a bit? Sure, we all do. It's based on what thoughts moving through, but you come up faster.
I've been
coming, and that's the beauty of it.
I think that's the key.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Judy.
So long, so that's good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Good for you. Loving that.
I love what you said about realizing that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is working with already thought thoughts.
Yeah.
So they're
too late.
Like it's too late.
It's too late.
It's after
the
it's
fact,
already happened. It's after the fact. And by working with already thoughts, like trying to change them or do something with them, in effect, that's saying that there's something to them. There's nothing to what we think except for the meaning we place on them.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing to what we think.
Right.
Sometimes with clients, what's really interesting, sometimes when they have their thoughts, I'll really allow them to lean right into the thought, right? Like really lean into the thought and really feel that on a sensory deep level. And if you go that route, you come back to imperfection anyways, because the thoughts aren't real, but they may think they're real. So if you're there with them and you say, okay, I don't even do a strategy, just feel that. Allow yourself to feel that and tell me when you come back to center. They come back to center on their own. So they can actually feel and see when they lean into that sharpness, bing, it dissipates and you're back to perfect mental health anyways.
Yeah. Because when we don't pay attention, because the only reason why they feel the way they do is they're thinking when southbound. That's all.
Right.
That's the only
reason
reason
why.
There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be. Exactly. There's exactly. See, you're right, Judy. People, there's no thought, and people are scared of their thinking, but they don't know it.
Right.
So when
you can just allow them to be in it, it's like almost like saying, "Here, let's jump in the fire. You're going to come out anyways. It doesn't matter."
Yeah. Right. Now, if you were talking about that, then they're going to feel. Then they move further away from mental health.
No, we don't talk about it.
That's awesome.
And
Good for you.
And actually, with children, it's wonderful because with kids, you can allow them to feel it in their body. And they
Mhm.
tell me stuff like you wouldn't believe. Like one kid said, this is like a watermelon seed, and it grew into a huge watermelon in my belly. And then the
Wow.
watermelon moved up, and then it went
God.
away and it just burst, you know, and it just like they'll experience the dissipation of the thinking like on such a deep level. It's really wonderful.
Very good. Yeah, it's you'll see more and more on that as you get a deeper understanding. You'll see that shift too. You'll probably do something different. Who knows? That's all good, but
Oh,
you'll
right.
see, who knows? But that's great that you're
Look at the
letting people
creativity.
experience that. Yeah, I know. That's
Yeah.
great, Judy. Especially for kids. See, there's such a big misconception out there that I have to suppress my feelings, my emotions. You can't suppress them because if you're not thinking it, you're not feeling it. If you have a thought like Judy, you're teaching your clients, you're going to feel it. You can't suppress it. It's energy moving through your body. There's so much misinformation out there that causes people poor mental health. But what you're doing is great. But when you see it, even on that's what I love about this understanding. You see deeper. I see deeper every day. It's incredible, and
True.
yeah, it's great. But that's good because a lot of people teach people that you have to suppress your emotions or you have to talk about whatever. There's no data.
You have to get it out. There's nothing to get out.
Nothing to get out. Right. So yeah, that's good, Judy. Good for you. Good for
You
you.
know, with little boys who have anger issues, I had this little boy who he was in a parochial school, and the head lady there, the sister, came in, and because he actually is a gifted kid, he took the desk and he threw it at the nun in
Wow.
the school. And so the parents brought him in. He's 8 years old. So we went out into the back of my office. There's a river in the back. And we dug a hole, like we dug into the dirt. And then you remember when we were little, we did that experiment where we put the baking soda and then we poured
Oh
the
yeah.
vinegar on it and then it
Yeah.
bubbled up, right?
Yeah.
So I had him dig a hole, and then we took baking soda, and then I said, okay, let's imagine the teacher coming into the room now. Now, I want you to, when you can get that, I want you to pour the vinegar on the baking soda, and I want you to watch it and feel it in your body. Watch the bubbles come up. Watch yourself breathe right through that. And so he's watching the bubbles and he's breathing it. And I said, that's how emotions are. They come up, and then what happened to the bubbles? They went they went away. So he's like doing this. He says, this is like a volcano, like Krakatoa. I'm a Krakatologist, he told me. And
Oh.
but he was like watching his anger, like watching it in motion. But he was watching the bubbles come. But he also watched how they settled, and it just all was peaceful again. They come and they go.
Yeah.
There's a metaphor
Exactly.
like that. I don't know if you've heard George Pransky tell this one that I just love, that it's like, you're in shallow water and somebody feels like they get panicked, like, the water is rising and they don't know how to swim. So they start, and everything is getting really rough and all. And then they realize, oh my gosh, all I have to do is just settle down.
Right.
And everything
Yes.
calms down.
Down.
Nice. Yeah.
You don't have to really
All they have to do is settle down their
Right.
mind. That's all.
Yeah.
It really
The
is.
volcano is in their own thoughts.
Thoughts. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
There's
That
a
should be
lot of
interesting.
creative work you can do with
Yeah.
young people before they get to the point of like us, where we get obsessed with stuff that just robs us of the first
Yes.
5 decades of life.
No, exactly. I know. I get it. Absolutely. Wow, that's excellent.
I
Very
love
nice.
the snow globe also. A
That's a
snow
good one,
globe, if
too.
you shake it up,
Shake it up. Boom.
it's like
Thought
us.
storm.
You just settle down have a seat, settle down, and you're calm again.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there's not much that
And
we have to do.
we can't trust what we're gonna do when we're all disheveled. We can't trust
Yes.
ourselves then.
No,
Right.
But we can trust our actions because once we calm down, then we can
Yeah.
trust
Right.
what we're seeing.
right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. When we're in a low mood or anger, right, we can't trust what we say, and who knows what's going to come out of our mouth. But
Right.
you're right, but when we settle down, that's why a lot of times, people argue after they, their mind settles, maybe it'll occur to them to say, I'm sorry, or I apologize, or whatever, might come to them. Not everybody does that, but it's so easy to get caught up when we're in that thought storm.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's great, Judy. I love that. Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow, you've seen a lot, Judy. You've seen a lot. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you mean in terms of seeing
And just in terms of Sid stuff and how you're, talking
everything
and
you
your
said,
insights.
yeah, I've listened
Wonderful.
to, and it really,
It's wonderful.
I got it. I understood it in the way that, he's saying it. And, if you study the Kabbalah, which I did for probably a long time, we read the whole thing, my rabbi and I and a bunch of people, they have the Sphirot, starting in the highest one is wisdom. So, and then they work their way down. There's knowledge, and then you're into this physical realm. And they talk about how to mediate between the two. It's very, very similar kind of thing. And the mystics did that, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years ago.
Do you know that there is a lot of rabbis who love the principles, love Sid
I
Banks?
bet you they do.
There's a rabbi
Yes.
in the UK who started a conference. They
Right.
get 1,000 people. They have to, every year in June, they have to rent out a civic center for all the people who attend this conference. And then they have a bunch of people who are streaming in from wherever they
I
are.
bet you the Hasidic rabbis really like it, because the mystics really talk about, thought, speech, action. Thought, speech, action. They're talking about these things all the time, about wisdom, knowledge. They go all through these because they study the Kabbalah. So a lot of it, it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, absolutely. And we do float between two worlds. We float between the spiritual realm when we're in a good feeling, and then we float back in fear, which is just the ego. And the ego is just who we think we are, thought created. And there isn't anything to do to come out back and forth, but just notice when you're in a low mood. People don't know when they're in a low mood. They think it's because of someone or something, but because we all forget we're thinkers, and there's nothing to do to come back to the moment except just notice it, like what you've experienced. Yeah, it's
and
powerful.
Like what Sid said, he said he was talking about insight, being in sight.
Yes.
So that insight, and he's like, if you look inside that, and he said, even as a therapist, there's nothing you have to do except have insight, change yourself.
Yes, bingo.
Right.
Yes.
So you're interacting in that special relationship that the Course in Miracles talks about, that special relationship, that one that teaches us the gift that keeps on giving. And we sometimes really get caught up in, like, that person did this to me, and how could they, and that really, and really it's the insight, it's the sight within. You can look at it any way you want, but that person's really neutral. It's what you're thinking.
Exactly. 100%.
That person is doing or saying whatever is coming to them in the moment, given what they're thinking is telling them.
Right.
That's
and
right.
They don't know, and they probably don't know that it's coming from their thinking.
Exactly.
They're going to think it's coming from you, or whatever's behind you, or the circumstance, or the situation.
Exactly.
what a different world as people wake up to the fact that everything comes through us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Then we
the whole
live in a
thing.
whole different world.
And that's the thing, I have a twin sister that I talk about, and I'll just share this really quick. So I have older parents that live with her. They're in their 80s. She made a decision 7 years ago. They came to live with her. She did not want them to. My father was, push, push, push. And so she gave in, gave her power away. Now she complains, I shouldn't have done it. I said, listen, that was 7 years ago. I help. I don't live there and I'm not going to, but I help a lot, take them out and stuff. But anyway, I was away last week in Arizona. Now she's all upset with me that I have a life, that I was away last week. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And now she's being passive aggressive. She's not calling me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done dealing with this stuff. So she makes up all these stories. I'm not on the same political side as her. I'm not educated. I don't watch this. I listen to the crazy stations. She's got all this drama. She has no clue, and she gets upset when I tell her, but she's the one doing that to herself based on how she's thinking. Now, if I didn't know, I say no, not intellectually. If I didn't live this life, I would be very upset. I'd be screaming at her. I would be disowning her. Who knows what I would be doing? But I don't take offense to it because she can't make me feel guilty. I didn't do anything wrong, number one, but in her mind I did. But that's her thinking, that she created this story, because we all are able to use the gift of thought, whether we know it or not. When you don't know it, you misuse the gift of thought, as she's doing. So she's creating her own suffering. I don't take offense to that because it's not about me. It's about her. That's where this saves you. That's why couples who fight all the time, and, like even in my marriage, when you don't have this understanding, there's grudges, there's hard feelings. So you did me wrong, this, that, and the other thing. But when you really gain this true understanding where you embody it, no one can make you feel otherwise unless you allow that to your feelings, which come from you on how you're thinking about it. But I don't give it a second thought. And I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And I can love her from afar, but I am not getting involved with that drama. That is out of bounds for me. I don't live my life like that, nor do I plan to. Right. So that's where this protects you.
That's really hard because, that's a tough one.
It is. It's a tough one, but this is where the principles protect you when you understand how we work, because everybody works the same. No one is exempt. Right. So she chooses not to, become aware or whatever she's got going on, living in fear and anger and this and that, judging people. I can't get involved with that life. And I'm not going to, but that's where this again protects you. And it keeps you from going down a rabbit hole. It really does.
And it explains why it looks so real to her.
Yes, it's all thought.
It looks so real to her because of consciousness.
Exactly.
Consciousness shines the light through whatever we think.
It's the big movie screen. It brings it to life. Yes, yes.
But she doesn't know that.
No, she doesn't know that. She's misusing thought, mind, and consciousness and has no clue because she doesn't know she's a thinker. And when you don't know you're a thinker, what you think is real. You're, like you say, you're experiencing it. And that's the damaging world that we live in. Unfortunately, that's why we don't have peace in the world, because if we don't have peace in our hearts, there can't be peace in the world. Yeah.
So that's what unhooked you really, was the fact that you realized that about her. And then you don't have to, you can just see it for what
I see it.
And then you don't have to, believe any of it.
No, absolutely not. Because I know she's in her thinking. She's in a very low level of thinking, and her thinking is creating that. So I could see her past. I know who she really is past her thinking, her habits of thinking. She could be, she's decent. She's a good person, but she's caught up in this story of being a bully. She bullied me all my life, but she didn't know that. I used to take offense to it before I knew this. So this whole understanding changed my whole entire life. Wow. I just don't get caught up anymore. I don't do my business the same. I don't live the same. My whole life is dramatically different just because of this.
Wow.
So it's a huge impact.
Huge, right.
Huge. Yeah. Absolutely. And so I wish, I've tried to, a couple years ago, she came in on some courses, but she doesn't, she's really not open to it. So, you have to be careful, so I'm careful where I spend my time. Totally.
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of like
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So this work is really the understanding is how we work is how everybody works. And the people that really gain this understanding, they don't go down the rabbit hole for long. They find themselves coming back, like you alluded to, Judy, faster and faster. Because once you begin to see that, you don't want to spend time feeling in a low mood, because, you don't have to go down. It's a choice. You don't have to, and there's nothing to do. You just notice it, leave it alone. And our default system is innate well-being. And we all have, that. But when you don't know it, like my sister, that's how people get stressed out. They cause themselves stomach issues and all kinds of medical issues,
And you know what?
It's horrible.
When we're feeling a certain way around a certain person, like, your sister, sometimes I feel this way around my daughter and her mother-in-law because they're like this symbiotic relationship. And sometimes it just really hurts me to watch it.
Yep.
And instead of saying to myself, oh, think another thought, sometimes it's just good to remove yourself from the situation. And you don't have to be in it. There's a good thought. You don't have to watch it. Go stay in a hotel. Don't have to stay with them. It's
there you go.
There's a lot of creative solutions here.
That's your wisdom speaking too.
Right.
And it would be so helpful too if she understood that her mother-in-law is behaving the way she is because of how she sees things. It's not about her.
Yes.
Right.
Just like with Lynn and Lynn's sister.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That would give her a lot of relief. Then she can kind of watch it like entertainment. It's more like entertainment.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law my daughter and her mother-in-law are like this. So they are in this very, very tight relationship. And I watch it. They live together. And
they do. I didn't know.
House and stuff with my granddaughter or my son-in-law. And my husband and I go there and we feel like outsiders a lot. And my husband's been like, Judy, let's go stay in a hotel. We want to see our granddaughter and be with her. And she likes it when she wakes up in the morning that we can run in but you know what? He's right. Why do we have to stay there? I'm pushing myself to feel bad. Why do I have to feel bad? I don't ever have to feel bad. I can just go somewhere else.
Would they let your granddaughter stay with you in a hotel?
I don't know that they might. They might, but I know they wanted us to come and help them with her because my son-in-law was going away. And my husband said, you know what? I'm going to drive to Philadelphia, pick up our granddaughter and bring her back here because I do not want to stay with them. I do not want to stay with my daughter and mother-in-law and watch that because I think my husband's, and he's right. He's like, I don't want to lose it on the mother-in-law and I'm about ready to pop. So I'm going to go pick me up and bring her to our house. And I'm like, good for you. And then she'll stay with us for the weekend.
Nice.
That's a great way to handle it. Right? Yeah.
Or you could just see that your daughter is just in her thinking along with, which is fine, and, whatever she's got going on, that's, her thinking and, everybody's, your life, I say your life, but moment to moment, it's just our thinking that's creating everything.
Well, sometimes I don't have to understand everybody.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Want to understand everybody.
Right.
So I just know I want to keep myself well. And the way to keep myself well is not to stress myself out.
Right. So, bingo, Judy.
Yeah, I don't care. Go have your relationship. It's fine. I just don't want to witness it because when I'm there, my thinking tells me I'm not enough.
Yeah. Right.
So why would Why would I want to expose myself to a place where I feel not enough? I don't need to learn anything from that. I need to feel good. So why be around it? Right?
Well, wait a minute. Let's dial this back a little bit.
Okay.
You notice that your thinking
Yes, we
made up
noticed
that
that.
sentence,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
but there's no truth to it. It looks true because that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all you know, they're jealous of you. I mean, who knows?
Right. Who knows?
Like they think
Right.
that you're some highfalutin person or
Right.
we don't know what they think.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
thinking.
That's my projection. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
There's a good chance they don't think that.
I mean, I think my daughter's so unaware of how all of it, and people will say, well, why don't you talk to her about it? Why don't you let her know how you feel? Why? Why would I do that? She loves her mother-in-law. Why would I do that?
Well-
I need to change.
Well, how's your relationship with your daughter, Judy?
Pretty good. I mean,
Oh, there you go.
okay, I don't get to spend much time alone with her, but she asked me what I wanted for Mother's Day this year, and I said, I'd love to spend time alone with you. Maybe we could go have lunch alone.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
I said, that would be great, if we could
Very
really
nice.
changing that.
So Judy, maybe
Nice.
you're just making all this up with thought. Maybe you're just making it all up.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard when you see the mother-in-law sitting there, you're sitting across from them at the dinner table, and she's rubbing my daughter's back, and I'm like ready to just say,
What am I, chopped liver? You want to say, what am I, chopped liver?
do that to my own daughter-in-law. I would never do that if her mother was there. That's terrible.
Yeah.
To me, it's just, they're just, I don't know. I don't care. I honestly,
Yeah.
at this point, I really don't. I just don't like to feel that kind of uneasiness. So I want to run away from it a little bit. I don't want to expose myself to it too much. I can do it for short periods of time.
Yeah, if it
Yeah.
affects you, I mean,
Yeah,
it just seems so odd that she would do that,
isn't it?
right? Like, is it because your daughter hurt her back? I mean,
No. They're always, I'll be there. She'll be in her other bedroom talking. Who the hell knows? I don't know.
You know what? Maybe your daughter, let's look at this side. Maybe she's like annoyed at that sometimes. Maybe she thinks the mother-in-law is too overbearing. Who knows?
I don't know. I think my daughter.
Who knows? Really?
I asked.
I
We
thought you
never
said
really
they
know what people
fight
are
a lot.
thinking.
What?
Didn't you say they fight a lot?
No, they don't.
No,
I don't
no.
think they fight a lot. I asked my son-in-law. I said, my daughter like bosses him around and stuff, and I said to him, Jonathan, why do you always like listen to her, to everything she says? And he said to me, he goes, in all honesty, he said, it really doesn't pay to argue. And he said, and most of the time she's really right. So I just do. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God. That's interesting. Wow.
Really, it's an odd relationship. It's an odd relationship. So I don't know what it is. I've stopped trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I know that
Yeah.
it sometimes, at times, makes me feel like I'm not enough. When I see that picture, that's what it reminds me of. So maybe what I could say to myself when I see that picture is, oh, there's my reminder that I am enough. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's just made up based on how you're thinking.
Any
That's
way you
all.
look at it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean
You
it's true.
just go
It
into,
doesn't
I
mean
don't
it's true.
know.
Yeah, you don't know.
That's what you want
Right.
to do, is go into not
Yeah.
knowing, because
Right.
we don't know what somebody else's actions mean. And, because we're not in their head. Their actions are coming from their head.
Right.
We don't know if the mother-in-law is like showing off in front of you. Maybe
Right.
she doesn't actually do that
Right.
when you're not around. I mean, there could
Right.
be a
Right.
million things that we could guess, but who knows?
Yeah.
I don't even really want want to figure it out. I don't know what they're
Right.
Right. You don't want to try to analyze it or
right.
even guess.
Yeah.
But my point is, we don't know. We really, that's where you want to go. You want to go to a place of not knowing, like, this is interesting, whatever it is, but I don't know what it is. And I don't have to know what it is.
Yeah.
I know that I
Absolutely.
know my daughter loves me. I absolutely know it. It's just we're very different people in a lot of ways. She's a very cognitive person. She's an attorney, and
Oh, is she really?
they're very cognitive people. Yep.
Wow. Wow. So she lives in her head.
She lives in her head. Like she's planning already now for like winter vacation for her daughter, or what are we going to do, or like she goes way into the future, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, tomorrow. It's a very different way of thinking.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, everybody has, it's really, when you see this even deeper, it's just incredible. You're right, what you just said, everybody has really like their own way that they think, but it's when you see it deeper and deeper, it's just incredible because you're thinking whatever we think feels, it looks real. That's how we behave. Like my sister, it looks real to her. She has no clue that she's making this stuff up, misusing the gift of thought.
Right.
She has no clue because it looks like I'm the bad guy. So no clue. So people, they live in victim mode. She lives in victim mode, and they're narrow-minded. People who aren't reasonable because of their thinking, you can't deal with people like that. Like my ex-husband, he was not reasonable. My marriage was not worth saving at all. I wouldn't, even if I had this understanding, it just wasn't worth saving.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. So when you're not reasonable, you can't have a good life with somebody who is closed-minded and who argues. And like, I'm not an argue person. I spent 28 years arguing. I didn't know who I was after 28 years because that's the life I lived. That wasn't worth it. Are you kidding me? No way, no way. So, sometimes, and it's their thinking, absolutely, but that doesn't mean we have to put up with that, because if people have to change and grow, and if they don't grow, they're never going to come out of their habitual pattern of thinking. Who wants to live with that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my sister is very unreasonable. Actually, I'll share you this. She was married when she was younger, in her 20s, 2 years. He was a state trooper. He says, "You are out of your mind. You're crazy." He signed the house over and he left. He said, "I want nothing to do with you." I could see it. I can't blame the guy.
Right.
I can't blame him. He's like, what kind of life would that be for me?
Right.
Throw kids into the mix and you're really in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't blame him. So yeah, it's crazy. When someone isn't reasonable like that, and they don't want to learn, and they always think it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
It's not a good life. It's not a good life. No, crazy.
Now, my husband, he's very different from me, very different as a person. He's also cognitive like my daughter, but he's very open to changing and looking at himself.
Nice.
Now, he might not be open to it in the way that I'm open to it. Like, he's not like a Course in Miracles guy. He's not a spiritual guy, but he's a really good guy. And he's like somebody who wants to change, wants peace, often will say the simplest things that I get so frustrated, but he'll say something pretty simple that just hits it to the point.
Yeah, when you're open and you're willing to look within, that's a whole different ball game. But for people who just blame you all the time or being, in victim mode, you're not going to win with people like that.
Right.
You can't win because they don't respect themselves. They don't have that, love for themselves, because, when you don't really have that compassion for yourself, you can't give what you don't have to someone.
Right.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I missed what you meant by you were saying that your husband's a really good guy. He's open and you get frustrated. Is that what you said?
Yeah, sometimes I get frustrated because he's so simple in what he says, and I'm not really ready to hear it.
Like, what's an example, Judy? What do you mean by that?
Said recently, because he did say something recently, and he was absolutely right. But I wanted to stay stuck on my feeling and my victimization. And then he said something that was right on the money. But I was like, basically, well, you don't care. You don't want to hear me. Da 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 da. You're not willing to listen. And he'd be like, no, I'm just not talking about it right now. What's going on? Oh, hold on. Yeah. So we're talking about you right now.
Can we say hello? Will he say hello to us?
Say hello. Come over here and say hello.
No,
Wait.
I don't
Here.
want to interrupt.
Here he is. Mikey.
Hi, girl.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
We feel like we know you already.
In a good way. We like you. We know you when we like you.
Hey, we have a question. What was that thing you said to me the other day? And I was like saying,
In fact,
shut
we're
up.
pointing out to Judy where she should have listened to you.
You said something to me. I was like really mad about something. And then you said something that was to the point. I was like, forget it. No, you're not listening to me. But I can't remember what it was. It could be anything. It happens on a daily basis.
But you know what's so beautiful, Judy?
Yeah.
You yourself said, I
Yeah.
wanted to stay in my victim mode.
Yeah.
I wanted him to come there with me.
Right.
He said, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's
But
what
you
That's
see
what
it.
our thinking will do.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's just so beautiful. I know
But
what
you-
that's like. How
right.
dare you take my victim mode away from me?
Yeah. I want to hold on to that.
But you know what? The beauty of it, Judy, is, and we're laughing because it's true, but you see it. When we see it, we can chuckle and go, okay, but a lot of people don't.
Well, I saw
So when you see
You
it,
can
that's
laugh
beautiful.
about it.
it was
You
after.
can laugh about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
sometimes
The
they'll just say,
poor guy, he was just trying to like get you off your high horse and settle you down. And you had all
Whoops,
this
he came in.
judgment about what he was
Really
trying to do.
so funny. And
Wow.
yeah, but when you're in it, you're not at that point, you don't recognize.
Yes.
You
Yes,
just
exactly.
listen.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear it.
That you're in your thought storm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And that snow globe. Yeah.
Mm.
In that snow globe being all
Yeah.
shaken up. Yes.
It says, you have Play-Doh and you can make anything you want out of it. I love
Yes.
that you say that.
Don't you love that? Yeah. It's so
Love it.
true. Yes.
Only when you realize that you're in a thought
Yeah.
storm.
Right.
We cannot do anything when we're in the
Yes.
middle of it.
Right.
And
right.
we don't know that it's coming from us.
It's true.
Yes. Yeah.
It looks like that silly person telling us something that's irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
But see, that's going deeper. That's seeing deeper.
Yes.
How all people, no matter how much we know about the principles, we are still a person. We are still
Yes.
going to have the
Yes.
tendency
Yes.
to go into our stories.
Right.
I do it, Lynn does it,
Yeah.
and what a blessing it is whenever we
To see it.
recognize it. It's like, oh,
Yes.
thank you. I could have just spent an hour. I don't think I spend that long anymore, but maybe. Let's just say I just spent an hour in a big thought storm. And then I wake up and I realize, ooh,
Right.
check out where you just were. Ooh,
Yes.
it's like,
Exactly.
thank you. Thank you so much. Whenever we realize
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, when I was first learning this, I would get on myself for not seeing it right away. And someone, I don't remember who in the Three Principles world, said to me, cut it out. That's just going to keep you stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Whenever you wake up to the fact that you were just caught up, Be grateful.
Right.
Be grateful. That was a moment of grace.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
there's no button to press to wake
No.
us up. Okay, wake up
Not at
now.
all. Not at all. No, there's not. There's not. Yeah. You know, I love the story. I studied with Dr. Mark Howard. He's was a psychologist. He's retired now recently. But he said, you know, a while back, you know, this was like last year, or the year before, and I was working with him. Him and his wife had gone for a ride in the car. And he said, you know, they got in and he said she was messing around with the heat or something. It was too cold on her side. Then I got too hot. And he said, we weren't at the end of the driveway. And I'm like, what are you doing? I am so annoyed. And I was like kind of yelling at her, he said. And then he said, oh my gosh. After I realized seconds later, I knew it was coming from me. He said, you know, and he said, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Let's move on. Let's have a great day. We're going to go out for the day, spend time together. He came to his senses when his mind settled down. Why? Because he knew it wasn't coming from her. It wasn't coming from the heater. That's the difference. When we don't know that what we experience comes from us, it only comes from what we're experiencing from thought. But when we think it's other than thought, that's where we go downhill.
Right.
Yeah. So
you to blame the next
beautiful.
person. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's so easy to.
Yes.
It's so hello. It's so easy to blame the next person because you're not in your right mindset in that exact moment. So your first thought is, okay, it isn't me. So what is it? Oh, this person's around me. It's they're the problem, not me. I'm not the problem. You're the problem.
Yes.
And we get into that mindset a lot of the time, and we can get stuck in that mindset where everybody's the problem but us. And then you notice, hey, everything's collapsing around me. Am I the problem? At some point you realize, hey, it just may be me. We don't want to accept that fact sometimes, but hey, it can just be us sometimes. Sign, do you agree? Yeah, my son's yelling in the background, so apparently he agrees.
So Cal, I don't know if I understand.
Yes,
what do you mean?
Yes.
What do you mean that you could be the problem? Like, what does that mean?
What happens is us as humans, we have a trouble with accountability at times. It's so easy to point the finger at everything going wrong around us instead of looking at ourselves like, hey, like for instance, hey, I lost my job. Hey, you know, it's the company's fault. It's this fault. Hey, maybe I wasn't working as hard as I could have been. Maybe I wasn't dedicating myself like I could have been. But in that moment, we're not thinking logically. And then when history continues to repeat yourself, at some point you got to own up to, hey, it could be me. I could be angry. I could be mad. I could just be going through something. But in that moment, we don't think logically. So it's easy to point the finger and place blame everywhere but ourselves.
Yeah, because you can't think logically. You're right when you're in a thought storm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Logic is out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's great
It flies
to know
out the
that.
window.
It's great to know that we can't trust what we think when we're in that mode. We can't even trust what we think. It's great to know that, because that's also part of understanding how mind, thought, and consciousness work. That when we're caught up, we won't know it until we know it.
Yes.
You know, and the same for other people, even people who don't know anything about the three principles. When they're caught up blaming you, they are clueless that it's coming from their own thinking. Totally clueless. So that's why we say innocent. People are innocent to their own thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. I got blamed the other day for someone missing their own appointment that I didn't know about. It's, hey, you didn't remind me of my appointment. Well, I didn't know you had an appointment. So how am I reminding you of anything?
Right, exactly. Not your fault. No, the blame game. Yeah, it's the thinking that creates that. People have no idea. You see, it's just incredible. And that's where, you know, why we have so many people have so many issues in the world. And that's why, you know, a lot of people live a life of suffering, and they don't even realize that they're doing it to themselves. It's sad. It really is. I'm grateful that this, like Lori says, be grateful. And I'm grateful that I really gained this understanding. And there's always more to see because you're never done. But it's a salvation. It saves you. It saves you from going down the wrong path. And I see, because I know how I work, if I have a great idea years ago, I would talk myself out of it, because your brain only has, it's a record of the past. It keeps whatever, doesn't know anything new. And it'll find, no, Lynn, that didn't work last time. Now I find I trust myself more, because that thinking that, did you hear that? Is that okay?
No,
I don't know, maybe it was my earphone.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's
I'm
okay.
gonna beep.
Sometimes my earphone went nuts. But I trust I trust myself more now than I ever have, because when I feel insecure, I know it's not real once I wake up to the fact. But in the meantime, it feels real as hell. But once I wake up to it, I let it pass, and then I'm back into my common sense again. So it builds your trust when you can really see, once you quiet down from the thought storm, that insecure thinking. You really can. So you trust yourself more, and you have less self-doubt, really, because self-doubt's just created from your thinking. So yeah, it's something. Oh, how cute. Oh, what a cutie.
Oh, he's really cute.
How cute. He's having a
Super
good
excited.
time.
Oh,
Oh, he's having
absolutely.
a good time.
You good, baby?
Oh, cutie. Oh, what a doll.
Thank you.
So much fun.
Daddy's right here. Oh yeah. This is my sanity here. This is when
Oh, cute, cute, cute.
everything collapsing around me. It's like, okay, I'm with him on a daily basis around the clock. Nothing else matters.
Nice. That's right. That's right. They're so cute.
He agrees.
What is he
He agrees.
watching that he's so enamored? Oh my
He's
God.
watching a show called Little Baby Bum.
Oh yeah.
My granddaughter loved that little baby.
Yeah.
Bump. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
And then Coco Melon. Coco Melon's
Oh
another
my
one.
gosh.
My
I'm
granddaughter
so tired
loves
of Coco.
that.
I've been finding every
I
reason
know
not
all
to
the
turn on
songs.
Coco Melon.
I know all the songs.
Oh my God.
I listen. I bother my niece all the time, and because she loves Coco Melon. I'm like, hey, JJ's doing something for his father. JJ doesn't even know how to use the potty yet. Look at it. Look, he's standing up on a potty. See, he doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
she's like, he knows how to do it. I'm like, no, look, he's standing up. You're a big girl. You're doing better than JJ with the potty.
Oh yeah, that JJ. Everybody loves JJ. Too cute. Too cute.
He's the same way. Unfortunately, I tried to get him away from it, but every time he hears Coco Melon, his face lights up, and I'm like, okay, you win, buddy.
Oh yeah.
You win. Daddy will gracefully bow out. You win, baby.
That's
it
cute.
makes you happy. Daddy is 100% behind it.
That's it.
He's so expressive.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's so
Yes.
expressive.
Yes,
There's
and
so
I'm trying to let him relax, and every chance I get, he's grabbing my hand to put my hand around him, and I'm like, okay, clearly you just wanted to sit with me.
Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet. You can't beat the kids. They're wonderful.
You're a good dad, Cal.
That's right.
You're a good
That's
dad.
right.
I try my
He
best.
is. I could tell.
Make sure he's saying. Make sure he's saying, "Baby, what are you doing?"
He's showing off for us, I think.
Yeah, he does sometimes.
But can you imagine if
he'll be in the
this
other
was...
room?
Oh, I know. I get it. But can you imagine if this was taught in school systems very young? And my dream is, I wish that there was a test for people who was having kids before, because unfortunately, kids end up picking up from the parents, all kinds of issues from them because they never took care of it in a way. And, the world would be in such a different place.
It passed down from one person to one person.
Exactly, because they see it. They see it. Absolutely, and it's would be nice if, we lived in a world like that, you know, where we brought this into the school systems and trained the parents too, and it would just be a whole different world. Yeah.
Like even
Karen.
with like child development classes, because I know in high
Yep.
school they have child development classes, like just something as simple as that, like, hey, what you can be prepared for, because you're never going to be 100% prepared for anything.
Right,
But just
exactly.
like pretty much an overview, hey, this is how it's gonna
Mhm.
go. I still remember I was the only male in my classroom, and I had the baby doll that they make you take home for
Oh
24
yeah, I
hours,
remember
watch it and
that. I
everything
remember
like that.
that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was living in New York at the time. I'm out in the Bronx living in public housing, and everybody's like, dude, you got a baby with you? I'm like, yeah, leave me alone. I'm like, oh, I literally was bringing the baby to basketball practice, taking timeouts, running to go make sure, pick it up for like 5 minutes, then run back on the court and everything like that. They were like, what were you doing? They're like, you did great. I'm like, thank you. They're like, but you guys had practice yesterday. I said, yeah, the baby was like, listen, he was on the bench with me. I was running back and forth, grabbing him. I changed him twice. They're like, how are you do? I'm like, listen, I literally have my stopwatch set for every 15 to 20 minutes. Hey, gotta do this, gotta do that. And
That'll
just
talk
like,
you out of having a baby real fast when you realize the responsibility. Yeah.
Wow, that's
and I
great.
waited till
Some of you met Karen on one of our programs. She's actually bringing this into our school system.
Yeah.
With
In
like
Vernon.
3 or 4 different schools. There are books written about this for kids. My Guidance Side. What is a Thought? Where is Wisdom? Really good books.
So it's great.
I'll send you those kids' books because they would be great to read too.
and it'll be more than appreciated.
On the thing, Lori, you know, when you
I'll put it in for
Oh
everybody.
yeah, she'll put it. Yeah,
because
that's
you
a
have
good idea.
grandchildren.
Yeah.
How old is your granddaughter, Judy?
She's gonna be 2.5.
Oh, 2.5.
Perfect.
Oh, that's how old. I told 4.5. Oh,
Ages.
4.5. Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yeah, mine's
there.
2.5. Yeah, how cute.
Yeah,
I'll put it in
he's
the
20 months.
video.
He just turned
Oh,
20,
20 months. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And
His
I'll
birthday
also
is August
send you
21st.
mystery school.
Nice.
I'm inviting everybody to come into mystery school so that you can keep the conversation going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please send that
It's
with
basically
the YouTube link
reading and
everything of that
listening
nature.
to Sid, and then we meet once a week.
Yeah,
Zoom.
maybe
I'm
you
all
can
for it. I'm
send.
for it.
Yeah, maybe you can send those details too, Lord. You know, the links for
I
everybody
will.
to take a look at. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So Cal, how did you get into this stuff?
I got my bachelor's in psychology and associates in communication.
About this group and everything.
I found out here.
Cal's just
through
getting his feet wet in the 3 principles.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's new to the
Unfortunately
3
enough.
principles.
Yeah.
I'm new to it too, so.
Yeah, you guys are doing
though.
great.
I'm excited.
You're doing great.
I'm excited to learn. Again, I'm a student. I'm a creature of habitat. So once I start to learn something, now I'm doing research on my own. I want to find out more information. I'm looking stuff up on my own. Just because, hey, what if I may have questions that don't go answered? So now I'm going to go look for my own answers. And now I may have additional questions by me going to go check for my own answers. Now I may still have questions about something else. And again, it's a good process. I can't not complain. It certainly has been helpful, even with the YouTube tutorials and everything. It has been helpful.
Nice.
It's definitely,
yeah.
You know, sometimes you just want to sit there and, hey, like for instance, say I'm cleaning up and what may have you. Okay, I'm putting on the YouTube video and just listen while I'm doing things and put my mind in a good space. Especially when like you're cleaning or you just, hey, you feel like your mind is flooded, just put something on and pretty much just zone out and go into your own peaceful place, your happy place, as they call it.
Yeah, and that's why Sid, I always tell my
Bill Pettit's YouTube. He's got a lot of YouTubes that would be really good.
But I always say even to my clients.
Excellent too. The one you sent us from Dickin, I listened to.
Yes, Dickin's excellent.
Bettinger, yeah, he was good.
Yes, he's
Dickin
excellent.
Bettinger, yeah.
Yeah, and that's good. You always stay in.
Thing. So all that stuff that you send, I listen
Yeah.
while I walk,
Good.
so it's great.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, that's exactly what I do. Listen while you walk. You
Yeah.
always hear something different, or when you're doing something, or quiet at night before bed, whatever. It's just nice to stay in the conversation, whether it's Sid or Dickin or us or whoever. It's staying in it because you can always hear something new. I know every time I walk and listen, I hear something fresh and new that I didn't catch before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I get back to being able to walk everywhere. Unfortunately, I'm still in a walking boot for another month. So
Oh,
and though back to full-time walking and doing everything I need to do.
What happened?
yeah, walking is nice.
I
That's
sprained,
been a long
I
time
tore
coming.
my ankle. I completely tore my ankle. It was
Ooh.
sprained, and because I'm formerly diabetic, I used to be diabetic. Thankfully, I'm no longer diabetic, but because I used to be diabetic, the healing process is a lot slower.
Oh,
Wow,
Okay.
but you got out of it. Wow.
Now, I tore,
I went from 365 pounds, and at my lowest, I was at 155 pounds.
wow. Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Oh my
100.
God.
I'm currently at 180 pounds. So now I'm at a point where my doctor's like, hey, I haven't gained weight since 2019. I haven't gained more than
Wow.
2 pounds since 2019. And he's like, hey, no offense, but you're 6'5". You should be between 225 and 235.
Oh my God, you're
Healthy weight.
6'5". Wow.
6'5", yes.
Wow.
wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
Look at Calvin's
Wow.
hands. He's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I
a
know.
real basketball. Look at that.
Oh my
Eh,
God.
I played basketball
Wow.
for I played freshman year for Central Connecticut State University
Oh, did
for the
you
Blue
really?
Devils.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and back then,
Wow.
that was 2009. Yeah, 2009, and I ended up shattering my ankle during a scrimmage against Valparaiso. Completely shattered the same ankle I sprained now.
Oh, wow.
And I was out of school I got home tutored for my entire freshman year.
Wow. Wow.
Somehow I got my bachelor's degree in 3 years.
Good for you. Good for you. Wow. Crazy.
Great,
Crazy.
Calvin.
It is not stand on daddy time, baby.
Yeah, so the longer we stay in the conversation, definitely, it helps. It helps you see even more. And that's what's key. And then it's I don't know, you just see, it's hard to describe, but you just end up going deeper and your world begins to look different and feel different in a good way. Like
So
you're
we
already
meet
experiencing.
right now anyway, we're meeting Tuesdays at 4:30. I don't know if that's a time that you can arrange to be with us just for an hour. Same Zoom
I
screen.
get off of work at 3:30 anyway, 7 to 3:30. So
Oh, perfect. So you can make it, and maybe
I don't know,
Judy
Judy,
can
I don't
make
know how
it.
late Judy sees her clients. I don't know what, what your appointments.
Not great. They're long days for me. I don't finish until like 7, unfortunately.
Oh, whoa, you've got a long day. Wow.
We do in the middle of the day at 12:15 to 1 o'clock. We do our Course in Miracles.
Oh, the course, yeah, which I never get to make anymore because I've been so busy.
Oh,
Yeah, I just,
came to that. That was great. Yeah, you had a
it
lot
was,
of-
I gotta see if I could come back, it's just been so busy. Tomorrow, I don't know if I don't remember, I might be able to make it tomorrow. But yeah, I enjoy that. That's a nice group of ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording because we gotta get going. Yes.